Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Donna Kapmeyer, and I'm the CEO and firm owner of Capital Game Plan Consulting and Action Coach in South Texas, and I will be your host for today. I am very excited to have our special guest, Ilya Popov, on our show. Ilya is the founder and CEO of Comeback Mobility in San Antonio, Texas. And today we're going to speak with him about his journey to get to where he's at today and the challenges and successes of starting up and operating a business in the startup phase. If this is the first time on our channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so that you can get notifications when we publish new content. Well, Ilya, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hello, Donna. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You are quite welcome. I'm super excited about you sharing your story with our audience today.
Absolutely. We'll be glad to do it.
Fantastic. Well, let's start off by talking a little bit about how is your business structured?
So the structure of my business is pretty simple. We have the head office here in San Antonio, Texas, and we have a back office which includes R&D and clinical research team in Ukraine. So it's kind of a mix between Ukraine and the US employers.
Very good. Is a majority of your team in Ukraine,
Yes,
or are they here in
26%.
San Antonio?
Here in San Antonio, 3%, in Ukraine, 26.
Very good. So a big chunk of your team is in Ukraine.
Correct.
Awesome. How awesome is that? Very good. Very good. So doing work basically in two different countries.
Yes, and pretty different time zone because the difference in the time is 8 hours.
Okay.
So I start my first meetings at 6 a.m. and work with my Ukrainian team by the noon. And then afternoon, I can work with the US business and operations.
Very nice. Very nice. So you have to be cognizant of those time zone changes and make sure that you're able to be effective in both of those areas.
Correct.
Very good. So your business is a little bit, I say a lot, a bit unique. So tell me a little bit about what your business is and what you do.
Yes. We started with creating a medical device. It looks like this. It's a
Nice.
medical device that can be attached to any kind of crutches or canes. And this device let patients to understand how much weight they should apply after lower limb injuries to their post-operative legs. So we used to think that there is a need, an opportunity where there is an existing treatment protocol prescriptions, and we just need to develop the devices and bring it to the market. But we were wrong, and now we are creating new treatment protocols because when we met with the top level surgeons here in the US, we figure out that actually the current treatment protocols, they are not based on the data. They're not data driven, and that's why we are rebuilding them from scratch.
So they're not data driven. They haven't been data driven. So all of the prescriptions that have been provided post surgery have just been done kind of haphazardly or follow this. And what you're trying to do with your product is bring data, real data, to help you heal faster from these surgeries.
Correct. I wouldn't say all. I would say just that the protocols that related to the weight bearing and steps activities for the lower limb injuries, fractures, and other different injuries. Because there were many clinical research where doctors ask patients, for example, to start putting some weight, or they restrict patients from putting any weight to the limb. But it was verbal communication, and nobody knows like what really patients did. Did they listen? Did they follow these prescriptions or not? So now we are giving these devices to each patient, and we can really track each step and load during the whole rehabilitation process and see what parameters of steps and weight-bearing activities lead to what outcomes.
Awesome. So what got you started with this? What led you to this?
Um, I'm a serial startup founder. And when I sold my previous startup, it was just software business. I bought one-way ticket to Thailand, and I decided to realize my old dream and become a professional Muay Thai fighter. It's like kickboxing, but we also with elbows and knees. And when I did my fifth fight in Thailand, I got injured, spent 6 months in rehabilitation. And when my doctor asked me to put 25% from my body weight, I had no clue what does it mean. I don't have a measurement. I don't have weight sensor in my leg, so I cannot follow this recommendation. And that's how I come up with a new medical device solution. And when I did an exploratory interview with 73 physicians in the US, 4 physicians in Germany, 4 physicians in Japan, I figure out that it's a worldwide problem and nobody understands how to follow these prescriptions. And that's why it was to solve.
That is crazy. So if you think about, right, you've had some conversations with physicians. What has been the response around this device that you have invented and
Sure,
introducing it to the market?
sure. Everyone wants to see the real data. I mean, there are physicians and surgeons who believe that early weight bearing will accelerate healing, and it's very important. There are some physicians who are more conservative, and they believe that patients should be immobilized for several weeks, and it will help to prevent secondary joint reduction. And both of them are right. And it really depends from patient's individual characteristics and type of fracture, if we're talking about bone fractures. And I think that all the medicine and all the post-surgical prescription goes to the individual pathway. And I think that we will change the post-surgical recommendation from the standard that is equal for everyone to individual approach. But to do it individually, it have to be cheap enough for mass market. And this is one of the challenge that we are solving right now.
So how do you plan on bringing this to market? You mentioned the doctors are looking for data. So what does that require you to do?
So when you develop the medical device, first, you need to do your manufacturing. And while you do the assembly line, you have to provide your team with a quality management assistants who will implement the quality management system in order to understand that this device can work with the different climate and conditions, with different battery level, with different environment, after delivery, after shaking, after being in a cold weather. This device will do the work in a great quality. And with also this device should be working after several use. For example, we have developed a special machine that can simulate 2 million steps, and then we can see that the accuracy of the measurement is still good enough. Actually, this is one of the parameters we recommend this device to use up to 2 million steps, because we found that after 2 millions, the quality of the weight measurement goes down. So first of all, you have to take care about the quality. Then you go to the regulators. FDA will check all the quality management system that you implemented. Then you have to go to and be HIPAA compliant. It's about the safeness of your data, because our device, including software component, mobile apps for patients and for doctors. This data have to be safe. The next part is of course who is going to pay for the device or for the device use. And here is the biggest part, because in the US nobody wants to pay. For example, patients say we want to have reimbursement. We don't want to pay out of pocket. Hospitals say, if this device prevent complications and additional surgeries, we will lose our money. Why should we pay for this device?
Interesting.
And insurance companies, our real customer, they say, we want hospitals to use it before we decide to put reimbursement. So you go like a cycle, and the reality is you need to come through the clinical trials and compare your solution with the standard of care. And if you see statistical and clinically significant improvements, then you can bring it to the payers, to the insurance companies, and they still will say you that, like, no, we need another clinical research because it have to be done by 2 independent group of physicians, and only then we will consider to provide you reimbursement for new medical device. So it's a long journey. And to be honest, if I knew that I have to go through this journey and it will take about 7 years, I wouldn't start. But because I didn't, I came to the position where I'm right now.
So that's a long time that
Yeah.
you've got to wait out. So how do you navigate that? You've sold a business to help get you into this business. How do you navigate that period of time and kind of still stay afloat?
Well, we didn't know all of that. And I thought that, okay, now we're going to pass the regulations and then we can start sales. Then we passed regulations and we decided that we understood that we need to do 1 clinical trial. And then we told our investors, hey, now we're going to do 1 clinical trial and we will start sales. Then we did it, and we figure out that we need to do another 3 clinical trials. But each time when we doing a step forward, we understand that the problem that we are solving is much bigger than we thought in the beginning, because we started with the assumption that we can expedite bone healing. But what does it mean for you if you can spend on crutches not 6 months but 4 months, or not 3 months but 2 months? 4 weeks. 4 weeks, it's a good outcome, but it's not very expensive for their insurance companies. Then we figure out that we can decrease percentage of non-union bone. Non-union is when the bone didn't heal at all. And when the bone doesn't heal, it have to be break it again, and it have to surgically take off the fixation and put a new one. So the cost, for example, in UT Health in San Antonio, we calculated that unhealed bone cost, reparation cost, $134,000.
Wow.
So when we prevent this kind of complication, we understand that we can generate much more value to the US healthcare system, and it's worth to go ahead. Then we found that with the fractures, it's articular fractures, when the fracture is close to the joint, each fourth patient, they will experience joint collapse within 2 years after surgery, because if a patient apply too much weight too early, it can move one of the piece of the bone, because in approximately half of the internal fixation with the tibia plateau fractures, it's close to the joint, are not stable, and it's really dangerous to start loading. So if we can prevent joint collapse, and joint collapse lead to the joint replacement, knee replacement, and knee replacement is very expensive and big problem. We can deliver even more value. So deeper you go to this all outcomes and potential benefits, you understand that your market is just bigger and bigger, not because it's more and more cases, but because we can bring more and more value. And one more thing, we are conducting many clinical trials, and each clinical trial is a patient's. And the patients are more than a cases. Each patient it's a different story. And when you see that the doctors think that, oh, this fracture will never heal. This is a 60 years old female. She is a smoker. She also use alcohol. Typically, these patients will lead to the amputation. And when you provide the technology, and with this technology, this patient healed really fast, and doctors didn't expect it, then you feel a lot of motivations to go ahead and go and continue to do what you do, because you see these real changes in real lives of real people. And this is what drive us and help us to go ahead.
That's amazing. I mean, the unintended consequences, which are very, very good. You weren't expecting that it could do all these great things. And it sounds like you got somebody who's not in your court because it's going to take money away from them. But others, right? The ramifications of you inventing this device is going to do a lot of great things.
Yes, for sure. And this is just fractures in the tibia and femur, because in medicine, each type of diagnosis is like a whole new project, and it takes years to figure out how we can improve outcomes after a meniscus rupture or Achilles rupture. So currently we focus only on two big bones, femur and tibia.
Okay.
And we want first to become a new standard of care for tibia fracture, and then for femur fracture. And it will take us several years just to convince surgeons that we can help improve outcomes for your patients with these two bones.
So with that, in doing clinical trials, you need patients. So what does that look like? Do you have an idea of when those clinical trials will start? Who are you looking for? Who would be an ideal candidate for that? What does that look like?
Yeah, we have just finished clinical trials in New York City.
Okay.
It was done with 20 patients, and we confirmed that with our technology, 74% of patients' steps within the prescribed weight-bearing range, versus just 21% without the devices. When we finished that study, we was able to launch a new clinical trial that can be discovered and new outcomes, faster fracture healing. And currently we are doing 3 clinical trials in 14 hospitals in Ukraine, where we see how faster we can expedite bone healing compared to the standard of care. And these clinical trials requires 90 patients. Currently we have 12 patients, and we are enrolling them, and hopefully we will finish enrollment within the next 4 to 6 months, because we have many clinics, and unfortunately in Ukraine we have a lot of patients due to the war and due to their conditions. The next clinical trials we are planning to launch in Embryo Long Gone Health in New York, here in UT Health, and in one more hospital from Providence, Rhode Island, also wants to collaborate with us. Those would be articular fractures. But again, we cannot start the study with articular fractures, which is close to the joint, before we see the preliminary data for the current study. And we was not able to start the faster healing study before we prove that with our device, patients actually can control their weight bearing. And one more study, before we launched clinical trial for the controlled weight bearing, we did our validation study. So and each study blocks the next one or unblock the next one. So it's like You come from the first class to the second, then to the third. It's like in a school.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So exciting of what you're doing. I have a question for you. Is that device, is that something that can be reused or repurposed once a patient is done with it?
Yeah, thank you for the asking. The device can be attached to the crutches or canes just like that. So it's
Okay.
not the big crutches, and it can be easily to ship, and it can be reused up to 30 times during 3 years, because as I told you, it is doing the job very accurate up to 2 million steps. And usually patients doing during the recovery from 20,000 to 50,000 steps, if we are talking about a big bone recovery. So yeah, it's easily can be reusable for with 30 or more patients.
That is fantastic. So one of the things you had mentioned was, if I would have known it was going to take this long to make this happen, I might not have done this. What other kind of lessons have you learned as a startup that you can share with our audience about maybe the don't do these things as you're thinking about starting your business or you're in that startup phase?
Yeah, for sure. My previous business, my previous startup, I launched after I spent in the business in the niche 4 years. So I knew all the details. And that's why I quickly grew from 0 to 2.6 million of revenue for that business, and then I sold it. Here I wasn't from the medical space, and I didn't have any co-founder from the medicine. So my first advice: don't give money to startups where founder not from the niche. And
Interesting.
don't launch a startup before you have a co-founder from the niche who spend a lot of time in this niche. Um, one more stuff I would say, if you want to reach a top, it's not enough just to spend a lot of money and do your job from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You have to, it requires more than passion. It requires to be a fanatic. So you have to really love what you do. And I'm not from medicine. I hate medicine. I don't like bone healing and all this study. I didn't like it at all. So I was almost dead before I changed my habits, and I changed what I like, what I not. So what I started to do is I started reading articles. So instead of watch Netflix or YouTube every evening, I said, okay, I'm gonna read one clinical research article before I can turn on my TV. And like that, I read more than 180 articles. And then after 100 something, I start understanding everything. And then I start loving it. And now I have passion about the bone healing and about biomechanic. So I didn't like it, but I don't think that you can do what you love. I think that any person, if you put enough effort, enough your time, you could start loving any direction. So the rule can sound like that: if you don't love the niche where you want to work, just go ahead, spend a lot of time, start understanding all the details, and then you will love. But if I am an investor and I would see that the person not from the niche and don't really passionate about the business, I wouldn't give money, because not all the people would crack themselves and push themselves to start enjoying the thing that they didn't enjoy before.
No, it's so true. Very true. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you would like for our audience to know about you or to know about your business?
For sure. I think that from March, we will start patient enrollment in San Antonio for sure, maybe in Houston. And if you break tibia or femur, you have a chance to use the technology that can expedite fracture healing time twice faster than it's a standard of care. And you have a chance to use not just the theoretical approach on how much weight you should apply during your rehabilitation. You can use our approach, and our approach is biomechanical. So we take a CT scan after surgery and we see the bone and internal fixation construction parameters, and we simulate different load, and we see what load can really damage your joint and what load can damage the internal fixation and what load can promote the healing. And using this objective measurable data, we prescribe the weight bearing, and then with our devices, patients follow this weight bearing. And I believe it will reduce a lot of complications and to expedite fracture healing and help people to quit crutches faster, much faster.
Love that. Love it. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Our contacts on our website, my email on my website, comebackmobility.com. We can navigate the hospital, which is close to you. UT Health, one of them. And we can start from there.
Very good. Ilya, thank you for sharing your story. This has been fantastic. And I know that our audience is going to find this information very valuable. This is the Business Spotlight Series with Donna Kautmeyer from Action Coach and Capital Game Plan Consulting, and Ilya Popov with Comeback Mobility. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see our great content. Thank you for being with us today. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Donna. It was a pleasure to speaking to you.
Likewise. Bye for now.
Goodbye.